Back now on Newsy Tonight, I'm Chance Seals. A new search warrant reveals critical details of the investigation into the fatal shooting on the movie set of Rust. Alec Baldwin, an actor and producer in this movie, had a revolver in his hand when it discharged during rehearsal October 21st. It killed the cinematographer and wounded the director. Yesterday, investigators searched an Albuquerque-based firearms and ammunition supplier as they worked to track down the source of the live round that should have never been on the set. The search warrant also revealed the armorer on the film said she loaded the revolver with 5 dummy rounds the day of the shooting, but struggled to get the 6th in before lunch break. The final round was loaded after lunch, after the gun was cleaned. Hannah Gutierrez Reed, the armorer, told investigators she, quote, didn't really check it too much, end quote, meaning the firearm, because it had been locked away in the truck during lunch. 2 lawsuits have been filed by crew members who were on set that day, but the victim's family has not yet filed a suit of their own. Tonight, Alec Baldwin breaks his silence, speaking for the first time since the shooting, sitting down with ABC's George Stephanopoulos.
She was someone who was loved by everyone who worked with and liked by everyone who worked with and admired. I mean, even now, I find it hard to believe that. It just doesn't seem real to me.
Let's get into some of the legal nuances here with criminal defense attorney Sara Azari. Sara, Alec Baldwin gave his first public defense. He did this sit-down with George Stephanopoulos on ABC News. Real quick, just to remind people what he said.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them, never.
What did you think happened?
Someone put a live bullet in a gun, a bullet that wasn't even supposed to be on the property.
Sara, from a criminal defense perspective, how strong is that?
Well, it's a bad fact, right? Because he is not just an actor who relies on the safety of props being given to him. He's a producer who's ultimately got superior responsibility here for everything that happens on his sets. For him to say, you know, there was a live bullet and we didn't know how it got there, well, listen, the law doesn't just account for what you actually do know. It accounts for what you should have known, right? And again, he's a producer, not just an actor. So, and I guess, Chance, I'm always skeptical of a shooter saying he's not the shooter. But, you know, there seems to be some witnesses, one saying they saw him pull the trigger, one saying he didn't pull the trigger, right? But ultimately, I don't think it takes away from his liability at the end of the day, because now we have a layer or another category of defendants who might be liable here. We have a potential gun manufacturer, distributor, seller, the owner of the gun store who provided the ammunition. These are just added layers of liability, but they don't take away from the liability that already rests with the crew members and Alec Baldwin himself.
Really quick, for those of us who don't know the law, bad fact, what does that mean?
A bad fact means one that can be used against you in this litigation. Okay. You're admitting that there was a live round on set and it shouldn't have been there. Well, guess whose set this is? Alec Baldwin. He's one of the producers.
Understood. Okay. Let's say, though, the deadly weapon was different. Let's say it was a grenade. It was supposed to be fake. He tosses it. It kills somebody. You know, or let's say it was a snake. You know, he's the actor. He holds a snake. It bites and kills somebody. He doesn't know it's going to do that. If it's handed to you, does that make you liable?
Well, there's still some level of precaution that he needs to take, even if this gun had blanks in it. You know, from a close distance, those blanks could potentially be fatal. So just because he didn't load the gun, he's not responsible for the gun, he's not the armor, he's not the second assistant AD, does not absolve him from, you know, exercising a certain basic level of care in handling that prop gun. And again, we keep saying prop gun, but this was actually a real gun. And if he's saying that it discharged accidentally because he didn't pull the trigger, then that exposes or opens the door to the folks who provided the gun to this production set. You know, it goes beyond just the crew.
And we are seeing everyone suddenly blame everyone else. You have Alec Baldwin. He says it's the gun. You have the prop master pointing to the armorer, yes, like this, and then that, and all of this, because then the armorer lawyer, he's out there saying this is a conspiracy. This was sabotage to frame my client. Who is on the hook here?
His client is definitely on the hook because at the end of the day, her only duty is the safety of the guns, not the fact that, you know, they were short on budget. They were sort of putting different responsibilities on her that really weren't hers because they were short-staffed. That's a different story. But her primary responsibility is to ensure the safety of the guns, double checking, triple checking to make sure they're not loaded. I mean, you shouldn't have live ammunition anyway on this set, but, you know, really double and triple checking the gun before it's handed over and explain that it's a cold gun. So I don't think she really has a leg to stand on, even if we know who brought the live ammunition on set. We know, you know, let's say the gun was examined during the course of this litigation, because I'm sure the defendants are going to want to do independent testing of this gun to see if this was really a malfunction of the gun. Again, it still doesn't absolve her liability, which is to check the gun safety and make sure that there's no live rounds in that gun, even if she believes no live guns should be around on that set.
With all that in mind, Sarah, walk me, I don't know, 9 to 18 months down the road if this ends up in a courtroom. And I guess it could be criminal or civil. So as a lawyer, you have to get a jury there with you on your argument. Is there ever going to be a way to completely reconstruct this and determine liability, seeing as how the guns were sitting out for hours and we don't know exactly what happened when?
I think this is going to be, well, number one, Chance, we're going to have a lot of DOE defendants, right? Defendants that we know were responsible. We might not know their identity. And through the process of discovery and deposition, we get to know who was responsible for what. But this is not a case of sole liability. It's a case of multiple individuals and entities potentially bearing liability here. And it's going to come down to what percentage is imputed to who, and whether there's enough money in the pot to pay off all the judgments that need to be paid off. So again, it's not going to be so, to me, distinct, oh, this person should have done this and didn't do it. It's going to be more like there's a group of people, they all had duties, they failed their duties, or we know that the gun was malfunctioning, we know where the gun got there, who the provider of that gun was, and then all of these individuals and entities will bear some level of responsibility. It's a question of what percentage.
I hadn't heard that anywhere. They'll have to apportion liability, 5% here, 30% there, 50%. Understood. Sara Azari, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Chance.